live to YouTube.
There we go. For those of you that are with us early on Facebook, feel free to share with your friends. It's going to be a good show. All the live comments that are entered into the comment section down below will be popped up on screen by our producer, Gabe. We will get to them throughout the show. I'm the only one with you today, so we got plenty of time to talk with you. And welcome back. Did you miss me last week, Gabe?
Of course.
Oh, I missed you too, buddy.
Where were you?
Chicago.
No, I knew that. Let's see.
Went to go see an incredible concert. Got to go watch the Red Sox beat the shit out of the White Sox. Great weekend.
What was the concert?
Morgan Wallen and Hardy.
Oh, he's not very good.
At Wrigley Field. Whoa, whoa!
No, I know people love him, and I don't even know, he might be great.
He's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's like watching a Garth Brooks concert, honestly. High praise.
Too popular for me, dude.
I know, he's reaching that pinnacle where you're going to have to hate him.
All right, well, the show is all yours.
Fantastic. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to yet another episode of Glass Half Sports. I am your host for the day, Nick Huffman. It is June 29th, just ahead of the 4th of July weekend. I hope everybody is doing well out there. If you are joining us early on the show, as always, feel free to like, follow, share, and subscribe on TikTok, Instagram, Spotify, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Patreon, and Twitch. If you can't catch us live during the show, by the way, you can feel free to catch the recap of the show or the rerun of the show on MCN 6, Saturdays at 10. And Gabe is with me today as kind of like my pseudo co-host. How have things been for you, Gabe?
Fucking pseudo co-host?
I don't know.
Fucking co-host.
Co-host.
Yeah, no, I'm just joking. All right, I took that up and down 3 times. So yeah. No, whatever. Par for the course.
There we go. Excited for the MLB All-Star announcements are today, Gabe. Are any Cubs going to make it?
Well, no, because all our good players are rookies. Although Nico Horner probably
he might
right? But yeah, or Bellinger, I don't know. I guess Bellinger might be.
Bellinger.
I haven't actually even thought to look because all their talent is young talent.
Yeah,
you know, the stuff that's really exciting. Right. So.
And then, hey, just so you know, I made my first trip to Wrigley Field last week. That's where I was, folks. Love the ballpark.
Yeah.
Really cool. Was there for
best.
a concert. Didn't catch a ball game. Got to go back to catch a ball game. But Wrigley Field does have a much better layout than the overpaid for Target Field.
Oh, I think Target Field's fantastic. But I think that Wrigley Field, you can't even compare. What do you think is shitty about Target Field?
Everything.
Well, you got to unpack that because that's really not. It doesn't seem.
No,
possible.
I think the layout, like, it's definitely built for the Twins. It's a non-home run, pitcher friendly, overpaid for your seats.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
that's all true.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I went to Guaranteed Rate Field, and the seats are better at the White Sox. That's Chicago's secondary market team than they are in here in Minnesota.
Huh.
Mm-hmm.
I just think that I think it's a great park, actually, like a truly great one. I think where they put it is great. I love how it sits in the ground, but I get it. There's limitations for its ability to earn. I get that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. So for Wrigley Field, do they have the field all covered up?
No, there were people down on the infield. The stage was in like center field.
Okay.
And he packed the place out. Everything from like second base down, or like midway into center field all the way down to the infield was packed out. Upper and lower levels of the infield all packed out. All the way down the baselines packed out. Great show. Jealous that Wrigley's got a new sports book that they just opened up down there, by the way, which is pretty cool.
They have a sports book like right next to the.
Yeah, DraftKings sports book and bar, I guess, is like attached to the ballpark now. Super cool.
Do they have? Why don't they just put a whorehouse next to it too?
I think that's coming. I did see a coming soon sign for titties and beer.
And by the way, that's actually like I'm being positive about that. That's not me saying it's going to hell. I'm saying might as well make it perfect.
Yeah, right. There's nothing. There's only one thing that Wrigley's missing, and it's tits.
Yeah. Well, and actually they make a fair amount of appearances, but yeah.
Oh, do they?
I mean, yeah, I've definitely seen. I've smoked pot there before.
There you go. Oh, you saw a guy drink sunscreen as well.
And I saw a guy drink sunscreen. Yeah.
There we go.
Absolutely.
Right into Gabe's Rolodex of stories. Gabe, for the fans this week, we have a little bit on the Minnesota Sports Roundup. We're going to go through some NBA offseason rumors, and then a little bit on Fight Corner, and then the show has a little bit of an announcement at the end. Should we go ahead and start with the Minnesota Vikings game?
Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah, and what we figured we would do while everybody is on hiatus as far as training camps before they get into the season or preseason workouts was go through the Vikings schedule with you. Vegas has them pinned at 8.5 wins. Some people are bullish. I've seen SportsCenter, I've seen DraftKings, I've seen different places say that they're going to be a 10, 11, 12 win team. I've seen some places say that the Vikings are going to be a 6, 7 win team. So let's do our version of this and see on which side of things we land whenever you are ready, Gabe, when you can get the first 4 games up for us. Thank you very much. So the Vikings definitely have a tough start to the season. We're going to open up at home against Tampa Bay. That defense is still just as scary as it has ever been. However, if I learned anything about how Kevin O'Connell preps for a week 1 game with the way that we treated the Green Bay Packers last year, I think the Vikings are going to be ready, and Brian Flores will have that, we'll call it a defense, ready for Baker Mayfield's pick-prone offense as well. So the Vikings will probably pick up a win in week 1 before they pick up back-to-back losses against Philadelphia. We don't play well in Philly. We never have. We probably never will. And with Jalen Hurts on a big money deal, them coming off a Super Bowl loss, I'm sure they're going to be hot and ready to go to start the year. So there's a loss in Philly, and then probably a loss when we return home to the Chargers as well. Eric Kendricks being on that defense now with the rest of those veterans is going to be able to probably articulate where all the bones are buried in the Vikings offense. And the Chargers offense is a real deal, and our defense is not all that good, especially on the defensive secondary where they've got weapons all over the place. They were able to retain Austin Eckler. Slater is healthy and coming back. Herbert's in a contract year. I just don't see that going really well for us. I think both of those games are probably going to be a wash. They're not going to be all that close. Before we go ahead and steal one from Carolina on the road, rookie QB, new system, new head coach, which leaves the Vikings at a very lukewarm 2-2 start to start the season. How would you feel if that's how the Vikings got going, Gabe?
2-2 to start the season?
2-2 to start the season.
I think that sounds dead on the money to too optimistic.
Yep.
Yeah. Has this team gotten better anywhere?
No.
Okay.
Well, at the wide receiver position, maybe.
Okay.
You get rid of Adam Thielen, you bring in Jordan Addison, but when you distribute the ball the way that Kevin O'Connell likes to distribute the ball, I'm still not convinced that Jordan Addison's going to have that big of an impact. Your first option is Justin Jefferson. Your second option is TJ Hawkinson.
Yeah, do we say him stepping up this year?
TJ Hawkinson?
Yeah, versus last year.
The guy down the stretch when we had him healthy and on the field was the best tight end in the league outside of Travis Kelce and George Kittle. Like he's
okay.
Already one of the top 5 tight ends in the league, and he'll continue to be that, I assume. That's why when we drafted Jordan Addison and everybody was like, "Oh, fantastic. We got a true wide receiver number 2." No, your wide receiver number 2 is TJ Hawkinson.
Right.
At best, Jordan Addison's going to catch 65 passes, have 800 yards and maybe 4 or 5 touchdowns, especially as a rookie. Plus, you still got KJ Osborne, who's in a contract year that's going to be asking for the ball a little bit.
Is he like a Jason Witten guy? So, from my perspective, he just didn't get that involved in the offense last year, but maybe I tuned out at the end.
He's a third down machine.
Yeah.
He's a guy that they go to a lot on third down. He's a guy that they go to a lot on short yardage or against the blitz. Keep in mind, he didn't have an offseason with the team last year. He just kind of got dropped in at the trade deadline, and then they said, play. And he still produced great numbers, so maybe we'll see an uptick in what he has to offer this year with a full offseason for him to learn the offense and the offense to learn him, especially. I know Kevin O'Connell and Wes Phillips are big into picking apart what their players' strengths are. So maybe we'll see a slight bit of an uptick, but I wouldn't assume that's going to be much more over what we had him doing last year.
Okay. All right. I'm up to speed on him, but I like 2-2. Yeah, it's so hard to get excited about this team, man.
Super.
So
many holes.
Yeah.
Especially with, Brian O'Neill's going to be down to start the year with the Achilles thing still. You're now trusting a first-time bell cow back in Alexander Madison or committee backfield with Tyson Chandler and Kene Nwangwu to take form and carry the offense and different things. First-year defense that's going to be implemented. It's just going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot. So it doesn't get any better, unfortunately, as you roll into the next 4 games of the season. Guess what, folks? Kansas City is still Kansas City on offense, and we don't play a whole lot of defense in the secondary. That's going to spell trouble. And San Francisco is still who they are on defense. And Kirk Cousins, every time he's gone up against Kyle Shanahan and that crew on defense, has got smothered. Those are both home games that we're going to lose pretty handedly. That's going to be a huge punch in the gut, which is going to be tough because in between those 2 games or, every other on the road, you're going to have to go out and take on your division opponents in Chicago and Green Bay. These are the ones that you're going to have to win if you want them to, want the Vikings to show up in playoff contention down the road. It's going to happen that early. You got to hope that you can squeeze one away from Chicago, who's an injury-prone team, with Justin Fields at quarterback early, or that Green Bay hasn't figured it out on offense with all their new weapons in Lambeau, both places that the Vikings also historically don't play too well. I think there's going to be 2 losses, and I'll give them maybe definitely 2 losses, definitely to Kansas City and San Francisco. I'll give them one of the wins against Green Bay in Chicago, which means we're a 3-win team 8 games into the season. Not a great start.
Yeah, almost like Casey would be getting fired right about now, do you think? 3-8?
No.
No, you think he stays through the season no matter what?
Yeah, I think he is. Regardless of what happens, Kirk Cousins doesn't have a deal. Where they don't know what's going on with Justin Jefferson. I think all the decisions that the Vikings will make, especially from a historical franchise perspective, they're not a franchise that fires head coaches midseason. They don't do the interim thing. They'll wait till the end of the season. Even when things got really bad with Mike Zimmer, they waited till the end of the season to make that happen. So I think he's safe no matter what. But 3-8 definitely is not going to look good. And I think if anybody's seat is going to get hot before Kevin O'Connell's, it's going to be Quasey's. Because 8 games into the season, if you're...
That's actually who I said.
Oh, Quasey.
Quasey.
I thought you said KOC.
Maybe I did, mash it, but I absolutely meant Quasey.
So Quasey's seat I could see getting a little bit hot at 3-8. And that's because if you've only won 3 games and you've had 2 draft classes and you've gotten rid of all your veterans, that means your rookies aren't playing really well. And if your rookies aren't playing well, that's not a coach thing. That's a GM thing.
Also, this is foreseeable.
Oh, absolutely.
Right? Like, I mean, the way that this was drafted, the way, like,
100%.
We know what it's going to be, whatever, 500 football.
Oh, worse than 500,
yeah.
Gabe. Wait till we get to the end of the schedule.
Oh,
okay.
Right.
So right now, 3-5, rolling into the next stretch of games.
And then this is. Wait, is that
Yep,
it?
that's it right there. So then week 9, we're going to have Atlanta on the road and then come home and face New Orleans. The key in both of these games is going to be the ability to stop the run. Atlanta's going to have Bijan Robinson. Rookies, running backs of his caliber are the best the younger they are. I'd expect by the time week 9 rolls around for them to have found their footing and be running the football really well and playing at least solid defense. You saw them be a heavily competitive team with a bad roster last year. So if you can't stop the run, you probably won't win that game. But I think we're going to grab one of the 2 between Atlanta and New Orleans. New Orleans has Alvin Kamara, who I don't remember if he's got a suspension pending early parts of this year, but even if he does, that means he's coming into a Week 10 game with fresh legs. And the last time that the Vikings played him this late into the year with fresh legs, he scored 5 touchdowns on us. So there is that. We'll take one of those 2 games, and then you got to hope that you can get the home field advantage win against Chicago, and that Denver is banged up. They've got injury-prone wide receivers, a running back that's coming off an ACL. Sean Payton is a new head coach, but they have Russell Wilson at quarterback. So I'll go 2-2 here as well, which puts the Vikings at 5 wins, but then they also have a total of 7 losses.
Point of confusion, if I get some clarity from you.
Yeah.
It sounded like you said Russell Wilson's name with like a positive connotation, and I'm confused over that.
I'm one that actually believes that Russell Wilson is neither as good as people think he is or as bad as he was last year. I think you're the median of those 2 things, right? And I think with Sean Payton in the building and what he was able to do, piecing together a broken Drew Brees for so many years with a solid run game, you'll see him elevate, maybe not to being like a Pro Bowl level quarterback or a Super Bowl level quarterback, but he might come back to being a serviceable starter that can at least get you into the playoffs. And with the way that the Vikings defense is built right now, that spells trouble.
Yeah, man. What a bummer.
Super, right? Like once I was talking to some of my friends about this, as we've kind of approached the season here, and they're like, the Vikings are going to be great. And then as soon as I pull the schedule out, I go, you really think they're going to get to 8.5 wins? That's what Vegas has them at. You really think we're going to get there? We are now, this is the last stretch of games. You got 5 games here left, and you only have 5 wins. Tough, especially because coming off the bye, you're going to get Vegas. Now, I think this is a winnable game. I think the Vikings will win this game on one condition. You got to not go out to Vegas early. You're worried about the player-friendly thing all the time. The player-friendly move would be like, oh, we're going to send the boys out there early. We're going to give them their bye week out in Vegas, and then we'll prep out there. A 5-win team has not earned that. You keep them here in Minnesota. You rest them, you train them, you practice them, you coach them, and you hope you come out ready for that game. You have to hope you come out ready for that game. I will give the Vikings a win on the road there, but they're definitely going to get a loss on the road in Cincinnati because that's a Super Bowl contending team. We have zero answers for that offense, and their defense is not all that bad. So that's another loss. You get Detroit at home and Green Bay at home in back-to-back weeks. Now, this is where it gets tricky for Vikings fans. Vikings fans, unfortunately, me sometimes included, and maybe, Gabe, you can back me up on this. When the team's really bad, we have a tendency to quit on our team, even at home when it comes to attendance late in the year, yeah?
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So Detroit's going to be vying for a playoff spot. Green Bay might be vying for a playoff spot depending on how bad we are. If we've quit on our team at that point, we could very easily lose both those games. But I'm going to say we split with Green Bay. So I'm going to give us the win that we didn't get earlier in the year. And then we're going to split with Detroit for sure, because that last game of the year, that's Detroit's game no matter what. I don't think there's anything that we can do unless they're 12-5 and have locked up a playoff berth. So I see 1 win, 2 wins, 3 wins. The Vikings finish the season at 8 wins, below 8.5 for the Vegas odds. Likely miss the playoffs, but guess what? They also won't be bad enough to get themselves back into the top 10 or to the top 10 to draft that quarterback of the future. And this mediocre performance leads to us with a long-term extension for Kirk Cousins and likely looking at trading Justin Jefferson. That sucks. That's a tough pill to swallow for Vikings fans.
You know, I heard a different take on the Justin Jefferson thing that I wanted to bring up to you to see what you thought.
Have at it.
I read, it was like, I think it was at heavy.com or something like that, but they had a very interesting take that I hadn't seen, which is, it was something to the effect of that that a wide receiver has not been issued an extension like this before his service contract is done or something, like whatever, ever.
Yep.
And it did really shift my perspective of this. Like, you know, once they kind of said that, that's what the general, whatever, customs have been, I can see how in that front office, it's like, it takes some of the drama out of this to some degree to me.
Sure.
But I'm sure that doesn't mean that Jefferson is seeing it that way. But
you know who else isn't going to see it that way? Jamar Chase, when he gets his deal at the end of this year and sets that precedent. And the Vikings passed up on the opportunity to set it with Justin Jefferson. Because Jamar Chase is going to get that deal in Cincinnati.
Do you think, though, that's... Man, I still just see it as not a bright thing to put all these resources in a wide receiver.
I think...
With an old quarterback. Like, even
but that's the thing, though.
Yeah.
There's a way to make this work. Listen, if I'm the Vikings and you're at 5 wins, more than halfway through the season, post-trade deadline, pack it in. Sit Kirk Cousins. You just drafted a quarterback. Go see what you have in him. Sit Justin Jefferson and use that time to work on his contract. Fall into the top 3 of the draft and draft your quarterback of the future. That is okay. That is a direction you can take with your team. But they won't. They want to stay competitive. So they'll leave Kirk Cousins in there. They'll leave JJ in there and risk injury. They'll finish as a middle-of-the-road team. And again, they will miss on the opportunity to draft a quarterback.
I can't believe how much of my life I've missed that really most teams' incentive is to go 10-6.
Yeah.
Or whatever, right?
Yep.
Like that, it's just keep the wheels on the road, make the money, you know.
Keep us relevant.
Yep. Keep us relevant. Keep tickets selling.
Yep. So, like, the Viking, this is going to be the year where you figure out if the Kwesi and KOC thing works or if they screwed the pooch on all of those decisions leading up to now.
Okay, so now let's just do a very fast, an optimist take of this. Like, your most optimistic thing. Okay, in week, the first 4, something goes the way that you didn't think and it's positive and we catch some momentum. What's your pie in the sky scenario?
Winning,
so they win 13 games?
No.
Impossible.
No, impossible. Let's see here. Let's take a look back at the schedule. I'm looking right here. I think, okay, early in the season, can you still steal one from the Chargers? Yeah, you can. Can you, if Brock Purdy isn't all the way healthy, can you steal one from San Francisco in week 7 at home? Maybe. So there's 10 wins for you. That's 11 is your max. If I give you the game at Atlanta and the game against New Orleans, 11 is the absolute ceiling for this team this year.
And then Super Bowl, right?
No.
Oh.
First round exit.
Huh. Why do we make all these moves, I wonder?
Defense wins championships, and we do not have one. It's great to boat race teams in the regular season, and unless you've got Patrick Mahomes on offense to make that happen, and then or Matt Stafford and Cooper Kupp to make that happen, and then on defense have a guy like a Chris Jones or an Aaron Donald or a Devin White for Tampa Bay or one of these game wreckers on defense, which we do not have, you're not going to be able to win a championship. I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen. It's the same reason why I'll tell you right now, Joe Burrow is not ready to win a Super Bowl because he doesn't have a game wrecker on defense to back up all that offensive firepower.
You need a quarterback who can manifest your own destiny, like where someone who can just put it on his shoulders and win in those moments. And that's why I can't stand Kirk Cousins because he is not. And I know he can, as you say, boat race it, but it's like, who gives a fuck?
Thank you.
Who gives a shit, man? Like,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What
so
a shame.
Between 8 and 11 wins this year, folks, and it could be as bad as 6. I was being middle of the road. That was me being a realist. You want me to be a pessimist? You could absolutely lose that game against Carolina because the Minnesota Vikings have a tendency to be bad against the rookie quarterbacks. You could lose that game against Green Bay early because it's on the road. You could lose that game against New Orleans. You're not guaranteed that win against Vegas if you don't handle business right, and then you're a 4 or 5 win team.
Make me see a scenario why keeping Jefferson is good. Help me.
Because
he'll attract other talent?
No, like I said, I think if you are dog terrible in the middle of the year and you're looking at the rest of the league and you go, I have a shot to fall into the top 3 for draft, and Caleb Williams is on the board. You sit JJ down, you go, here's your blank check. We're getting rid of Kirk. We will do whatever it takes to move up the 1 pick or the 2 picks needed to draft the quarterback of the future, which we then won't have to pay for the next 5 to 6 years or 4 to 5 years. That is the bulletproof scenario in which you keep them, because then you've got a quarterback you don't have to pay. And if you do the average salaries per position, they'll balance out. You'll technically be between JJ and your new quarterback be paying league average for those positions, and you'll have a guy with a ton of upside and the best receiver in the league.
When is there going to be some GM who just fucking picks 7 quarterbacks every draft, and then you just
hope you get one, right?
Yep, you hope you get one, and then you start your team.
Well, my theory on quarterbacks has always been you should draft one every year. If you draft a quarterback in the first round, the following year you should draft one in the 4th. If that first round quarterback doesn't pan out, you then draft one in the 3rd. If it still doesn't pan out, then you draft one in the 2nd. Well, then that's his 4th year in the league with his 5th year option. You can either pick up or decline his 5th year option, and then in the 5th year you go back to drafting a guy in the 1st round.
Right.
If the 2nd round guy pans out and becomes better than the 1st round guy, reset yourself. Now you draft a guy in the 5th, draft a guy in the 4th. You should every year you should be picking a quarterback to stabilize that room and create competition.
Yeah. No, I mean, it's true. Truly, I would think there would be someone who'd be hoarding quarterbacks by now.
What has San Francisco done?
Yeah.
San Francisco does that.
That's true.
No. So, all right, let's get off the Minnesota Vikings and their potential terrible start to next year, and let's talk about the Minnesota Twins and their terrible start to this year.
Let's do that.
They are now 82 games into the season. They are a half game back of the division lead. Everybody should be excited. Oh, but they have a losing record, 40-42. And it's all because we couldn't hit water if we fell out of a boat. And that is while we are paying $80 million plus to some of the better hitters in our lineup. Carlos Correa, I'm talking about you. Byron Buxton, I'm talking about you. They're just been bad at the plate. And the pitching has been pretty good.
Pitching's been awesome.
It's been, awesome, great, fabulous, fantastic.
Could never
consistent.
hope for more than that. Could never hope for it.
Couldn't. Yeah. Not as a Twins fan, right?
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm hearing these bullshit rumors about the Twins being buyers at the trade deadline.
Oh, really?
Why? So you can finish first place in this division,
sell tickets,
and then sell tickets and get swept in the first round of the playoffs. You just saw what happens when a legitimate playoff contender gets run up against the Twins. We got swept in 3 games. Wasn't even close. Now you got Rocco Baldelli locking the locker room doors to keep reporters out, and Carlos Correa, your team captain, claiming that they're going to have a players-only meeting to try to turn things around because we can't play baseball this way. You're right, you can't play baseball this way. The way to play baseball is to make contact, to stop swinging at shit around your eyeballs and stuff in the dirt. Draw a walk every once in a while. Lay down a bunt. Don't make errors. Minnesota small market ball. Joe Mauer type shit that I hate. You need to win baseball games. And we just haven't done it at the plate. Haven't done any of it at the plate. And we continue to shove elderly veterans into the lineup. Joey Gallo, Max Kepler, guys of that ilk. And try to be like, oh, don't worry, they're going to get restarted when the Twins have 4 of the top 100 prospects in baseball in their farm system.
Joey Gallo's the answer. If you can't see it, that's your problem.
Shut up.
That's if anyone in the world is fucking... Yeah, that's so odd.
Things that nobody has ever said, right, Gabe?
Yep.
So this was the rumor, and I want to get your opinion because you're a baseball guy, Gabe. The article reads, perfect trade target for Twins at deadline, Paul Goldschmidt. Who won an MVP 5 years ago.
Last year?
No.
Yes, or 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
No, he won it within 2 years. Paul Goldschmidt.
Try again.
Goldie, yes. You try again.
Is it 5 years? I don't think.
No. It was 2 years ago.
And he's hitting what right now, Gabe?
Well, he's not playing well now, but I mean, he's not far off of an MVP performance here. Let me get this up. Now you're making me insane.
I got it. I'm pulling it up right now. So let's see here. This season, Jesus. He's hitting 288, which is better. He would be the best hitter on the Twins, but that's not saying much. With 14 home runs, 20 doubles. But he's striking out at a career high clip. He's already got 76 strikeouts at the break, and he isn't drawing walks anymore. So what you're doing is you're replacing Joey Gallo with a guy that is very soon going to be a version of Joey Gallo.
I don't hate Goldschmidt, man. I think it's a good. I actually think it's a good move.
As the Cardinals,
depending on what they gave.
I was gonna say, as the Cardinals gear up and they're looking to do their youth movement post Yadi Molina and Albert Pujols and Adam Wainwright and Chris, like all of those guys, what are you gonna have to give up? Probably some of those top 4 prospects on the top 100 list. You can't give those guys up. That's the future of your ball club. Because Paul Goldschmidt has 2 good years of baseball left? Those guys have 6 years of baseball left under team control with arbitration. You cannot be a buyer at the deadline. You have to be a seller. You have to go to teams and be like, what can I get for Byron Buxton? What would you give me for Carlos Correa? What would you give me for Joey Gallo and Max Kepler and some of these other guys? And in turn, pretty much become the Cardinals because you have your pitching rotation set up for 2024. You need to make room for more bats. More young bats, more young talent in the field that you don't have to sink $26 million into per year to be so physically disabled that he can't play center.
Hold on. Are you saying that part of it? Is there any rumored pieces or speculated pieces that they'd send for Goldschmidt? I love this Goldschmidt thing. I'm falling in love with it.
Ugh, good, Gabe. Don't do it.
He won the MVP last year, dude. He made me feel like I'm fucking crazy. I'm serious. I feel so vindicated.
I don't think...
he did win last year. Last year, National League MVP.
Let me look. I'm looking at the article right now.
It's a fact.
It's a fact. Yeah, I'm trying to... Twins would likely have to give up Alex Kirilloff, Max Kepler, and
happily so far.
And likely a third piece rumored to be Joey Gallo or
Buxton
or AAA talent Brooks Lee. I'm out. You're not giving up Brooks Lee. That's your top pick from last year. He's in the top 100. He's your future at shortstop because Carlos Correa very obviously isn't it.
I don't think we should need to go that far with him because they got to be eager to offload the salary.
And we're going to take it and do what with it? The Twins aren't going to pay these guys.
If we can just pay him, if we can just pay him to play and make a stretch run, hey, why not? If it's a rental, if it's like a rental type deal where they don't have to give up a lot, but giving up Kirilloff and Kepler, are you kidding me? Take a couple more.
Take a couple more. I mean, yeah, if you want to unload our dead weight, but then you start talking about giving up guys like Brooks Lee, giving up guys like Royce Lewis, giving up like some of these other top prospects like Ed Julian that are on that list. No.
Who's the best prospect you would give up?
The best prospect
because
that I
because
would
history
give up?
tells us that this guy, who's been a runner-up, Here, I can pull it up, but I want to say he's top 2 5 times for MVP. He is a perennial stud.
Gabe,
Mm-hmm.
here's just this is what we're talking about when I say they
if
have
his
some
name
of
wasn't Goldschmidt, he'd be Bryce Harper.
Bryce Harper's not playing all that well either right now.
Yeah.
But here's just to show you like how high I am on some of the Twins youngsters. Over the last 15 games, Brooks Lee is hitting 368 with a 435 slugging percentage and a 737 OBP. I'm sorry. That's your future at shortstop. That's the Luis Ariz you've been missing, yeah? That's the top. He's a switch hitting top of your lineup guy.
The Luis Ariz I'm missing is Luis Ariz.
Well, duh.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and I agree. Royce Lewis has been mashing since coming back, but he's probably safer at third where he doesn't have to move around as much. Every time that guy has had to move around, ACLs fly off him like shoes on shelves at Michael's. Like let's not.
Did anything happen from his collision? I never saw that, like what the fallout was.
He's fine. He missed a couple of games, came back, nothing serious. Guy's still tearing the cover off the ball.
Okay. So how about trading Royce Lewis for Goldschmidt?
Nope.
Mensing, what do you think?
No.
If he's commenting on what he thinks. God, I like that.
No. You want to give up the next 5 years at third base with a guy that has all-star potential for a 2-year rental at a guy that is exiting his prime.
I would gamble that...
You're not winning a World Series, so why would you make that move?
Because we are in the pennant, we're in the race, and if you can get him for nothing...
Look at the screen, Gabe.
Mm-hmm.
At the top is our division. At the bottom is the wild card standings.
No, I agree.
We're 40 and 42. Boston is 40 and 41. Boston is in last place in their division by a lot.
But the way things work out, that's good for us.
It just means the minute we run into a playoff team, we stand no chance. So don't be a buyer.
Maybe we would with
don't.
Paul Goldschmidt.
No, you don't. He's going to be the only guy on base. Solo home runs and a 280 batting average are not going to win you a World Series.
Listen, this is sort of devil's advocate here. It's not like I really think this.
No.
But hey, who's to say that? Whatever. Who's to say that they wouldn't get? That Correa doesn't turn it around too. Yeah. That all of a sudden you coalesce and you go on a little run and you're in striking distance. We're just never in striking distance.
You're so guilty of the Minnesota sports attitude right now, Gabe. It hurts me.
No, I'm buying.
Are you afraid of winning?
Mm.
Like really winning and not just winning in the regular season.
I feel like you're misinterpreting this because what I'm saying is I don't believe that Lewis is going to, not the basketball player, is going to be a major league. Like he can't have an impact. He's just hurt. He's shown who he is. He's going to get hurt all the time. He's awesome fucking talent, man. Love the guy.
I would agree with you, but then go get a guy who's go get a younger guy. Go get a younger guy. I'm not saying go get a young stud, but go get another piece. Go get a bullpen arm that's young for Royce Lewis. You can do that. I promise you can do that. Don't go grab another aging bat that 2 to 3 years from now we're going to be talking about as what a bust of a contract.
He could easily have three really strong years.
No,
he could.
Not in Minnesota.
Why?
Dude, come on now. When is the last time we had a true power hitter? That ballpark isn't built for it. The weather up here isn't. Yeah, because Jim Thome was built for this.
Yeah.
Paul Goldschmidt is not.
Paul Goldschmidt's way better than Jim Thome.
Oh my God.
He is.
Moving on. What do we have coming up for the Minnesota Twins?
All right.
I'm dismissing you completely at this point as delusional.
Let's see here.
All right, so they got a 3-game stretch against Baltimore, who's their youth, because they actually leaned into it, is playing really well at this point in the season, and then a 3-game stretch against Kansas City, and they have been absolutely abysmal. Look at taking on Aroldis Chapman at the trade deadline if you really want to be a buyer, not Paul Goldschmidt. But yeah, how do you think this is going to wind up, Gabe? I see us maybe winning 3 games, and it'll be the 3 games against Kansas City. If we're lucky, maybe 2 games overall. I think we're going to get swept by Baltimore.
I think we're going to Nah, I think we're gonna go two wins
Yeah, 2 wins.
overall. I think we'll
Yep.
steal one from Baltimore, and we'll actually. I can see us go 3-3. I'll go
Really?
3-3. Yep. I think we'll take 2 from
Kansas City and
Kansas
steal 1
City.
from
Yep,
Baltimore.
steal one from Baltimore,
I
and
think
that's
that
best
is-
case.
Yeah, I
you
was
know.
going to say that's best case scenario. That's Minnesota optimism at its best.
No, we got
folks.
Goldie coming in.
We don't. We really don't. But yeah, the other 2 articles you can see there at Twins Daily and Sports Illustrated if you guys want to go take a look at what we were talking about as far as the top 4 prospects and who the Twins could acquire at the trade deadline. Pick those things apart for yourself and then come back and leave a comment in the comment section below to let me know what you would do if you were the Minnesota Twins as they approach the trade deadline and the All-Star break, where we will have nobody participating outside of maybe Joe Ryan.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What about Sonny Gray? Did he make it?
Don't think so.
Why would he not make it?
Has it been announced?
I'm gonna look that up.
Yep, we're looking. I'm gonna look right now. 2023 MLB All-Star ballots. Oh, they haven't been released yet.
Okay.
They haven't been released yet. So follow up with us later. We'll give you some information on that. What else we got, Gabe? Oh, a little bit of news for the Minnesota Wild. They had a draft last night.
Oh yeah. Did Connor Bedard go to Chicago?
I did not see who they took, but I was
Must
definitely
be.
sitting at Pizza Luce and realized, oh, hey, the NHL draft is on. They got to do better at broadcasting a lot of this stuff. I had no idea what was going on. But the Minnesota Wild wind up taking Minnesota native from Rosemount, Charlie Strammel. Played for Team USA, was a projected 2022 first top 10 pick. Decided or opted to go back to Wisconsin for an additional year and fell because of his inability to score. But the Minnesota Wild have scoring talent. This guy has a lot of high-level hockey ice time at this point at different levels and is a big physical face-off winning center, which seems to be the one thing that we're missing in the playoffs, no?
Well, I was gonna say he's a great fit for our team because we love to not score. But especially having these workman-like two-way guys who can, I don't know. No, I love it. I love taking the hometown guy.
Yeah. Get him back around a place that he's comfortable, get him around people he's comfortable with. And like I said, he doesn't need to be a scoring machine. He needs to play center he needs to be Chris Paul.
I wonder if he plays center, though, a lot as a, if he's not scoring at all in the NHL, unless he's like a centering machine or something.
Well, that's what I figure,
he
right?
is.
He's going to be a true distributor. He's going to allow us to take the puck away once he develops from Kirill a little bit and allow, him to maybe not take so much hits when he's on puck, different things like that. That's kind of how I see this going. I don't know a whole ton about him. If you know a bunch about him, because you're a big old hockey fan, that's what our comment section is for. But I think this was the right move. It was a guy that was projected to be inside the top 10, so he's got some upside. He's from Minnesota. He's big and physical, durable, doesn't have an injury history. And okay, so he struggles to score the puck. We have plenty of scoring talent in Matt Boldy, Zuccarello. We've got Kirill Kaprizov. Like, those guys are already in-house. So do you need another puck scorer? Not goal scorer? Not necessarily. You need a distributor. You need somebody who can win faceoffs.
Okay. 6'3", 222 pounds.
As a youngster.
As a youngster, yeah.
So-
Well, how old is he? 22, 23?
Got the build. I think he's 22.
That is amazing what a life he's moving into.
Right.
That's got to be crazy.
Super. I mean, he's played for that USA team, and USA is no joke at hockey either, so.
Right?
That's really all I have on the Minnesota Wild. We don't pay attention to them a whole lot when the sun's up here. We just got to wait for the snow to fly for them to be relevant again. Let's move over to the Minnesota Timberwolves, though, because they also had a draft. Wound up picking up 2 players in Leonard Miller and Jalen Clark in the 2023 NBA draft, where Victor Wembanyama went number 1 overall. Only thing that I've really been able to tell or that has really come from, why we drafted these 2 individuals. As far as Leonard Miller goes, they see a lot of. Do you remember Jared Vanderbilt from a couple of years back? Me and Mike were kind of raving about him as that the Dennis Rodman style build. Not a great point scorer, but hustle guy, rebound, steals, plays really good defense. Gabe.
I don't actually remember this guy specifically, but I do remember talking about a few, I guess, different ones. And it's just, I don't know.
So
what an unexciting draft.
Oh, so well, you don't have a first-round pick because you traded this one and then everyone into my entire lifetime for Rudy Gobert, and we see how well that, went. But you wind up picking up Miller, and then there's a lot of steam behind Clark being a guy that is worth the wait as far as like once he gets the opportunity to develop as a scorer. So they've added some depth, something we didn't have last year. Players that can continue to develop, guys that are going to play crucial roles on defense and effort, which the Wolves don't have a whole lot of because your lineup has Karl Anthony Towns in it. So I'll give this a solid C+.
Do these guys do the Wolves keep anyone on staff to help teach these guys how to wear hats after this?
I don't think so.
Huh.
Most of their egos are so big that those are size 14 hats anyways.
Yeah. Wow.
So the other news coming out of the Minnesota Timberwolves, which I thought actually very interesting. Naz Reid, who we definitely thought we were going to lose in free agency this year, signs a 3-year, $42 million deal to stay with the Wolves. Mavericks were interested. The Heat were interested. There was definitely a market for him. I think this has trading Cat written all over it. Because as of right now, the Timberwolves have invested over $150 million per year for the next 3 years at the center position, and this is not the 90s. This deal, Gabe, does this scream to you, hey, we're moving Cat or moving Rudy? Which you really can't do because there's no market for Rudy right now.
I was going to say, I'm not that inside enough to tell that, but I got to say, there's been a lot of that swirling around that sure points to that. I mean, I think it feels safe to say that the writing's on the wall, to me in a way. I don't know if it is, but it sure feels that way.
I mean, me and Mike talked about it before right at the end of the season. 2 of those 3 guys are coming back. It was Naz, Rudy, and Cat. 2 of them are staying. 1 of them's likely getting traded. Now, there are some pieces out there right now that you could trade Cat for. Kyrie Irving's going to take visits via free agent. I don't know how much you want him at the point guard position. Damian Lillard is still available, reportedly going to the Heat. Draymond Green is available in free agency if you're looking to free up cap space and just get picks in return. The Hawks have rumored to be letting Trae Young go. Like, there's a lot of places out there that you could send him right now to make other teams better. You could send him to the Lakers.
What if you are the T-Wolves GM right now, I just dub you. What is the shortest path to a championship level team for this team, for the T-Wolves?
You're finding a way to trade Damian Lillard for Karl Anthony Towns and whatever else that they need, and you roll out Naz Reid, Jaden McDaniels. Okay, that's your center and your power forward right there. Your 3 is Karl Anthony Towns. You got to still find a 2, but Dame is your point guard. You've got you've got a pretty decent bench at this point. With Cat out on a supermax contract, you can probably afford to go get a guy like Fred VanVleet. I think that team wins playoff games. That team can compete with Denver. Rudy Gobert, when you just leave him in the paint, is great. Jaden McDaniels is more than versatile enough to irritate bigger defenders. We talked about how much we missed him in the Memphis series or the Denver series. Just got to get some of these guys healthy, give Ant another year to develop, and then a guy as elite as Dame Lillard is at either running an offense or being a scorer is definitely the direction you need to head in.
Yeah, I like the Damian Lillard thing for some reason. It just seems like he's a great guy to put with AD.
You mean Ant?
Ant, sorry. Yeah.
Well, I would agree with you, but there's a lot, and we're going to get to this a little bit later in the show. There's a ton of rumors about him going to Miami.
About which one going to Miami?
Dame Lillard.
Okay.
And you know what? Actually, if Miami isn't completely sold on Tyler Hero, the Heat do need a big outside of Bam Adebayo who could probably play the 4 more athletically. You could play like a high-low with Jimmy Butler. You could trade Cat down to Miami, but then you got the Jimmy Butler-Cat dynamic all over again, so I think that kind of sticks a fork in that deal.
Man, yeah. Yeah, it's just, how did our team, how long ago was it that we were saying we had the best core of young talent or whatever?
2 years. All this, 2 years.
Markets?
2 years. 2 years ago, before the Rudy Gobert trade, if they just would have stayed the course, I think the Wolves were in a great spot. But they're like, oh, let's trade for Rudy Gobert. Let's hire Tim Conley. Those were the 2 biggest mistakes the Wolves have made.
Huh. Yeah, I mean, it's just unreal how shitty the franchise
feels. They did those 2 things, and they drove right off a cliff. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Kevin Garnett back here would be very disappointed. Very, very disappointed. I'm sure he is.
Yeah.
Let's actually take a look at basketball from a much wider lens, shall we? We could talk about the Damian Lillard Rumors. Are you?
Who's spreading these rumors?
I know, right? So he's one of the three key free agents that are out there right now. Before we get into this trade, where Chris Paul got traded for the second time in less than 7 days.
He did?
Yeah. Oh yeah, he did.
I didn't hear that.
But there's a lot of rumors around him going to the Heat right now for Tyler Hero, a bench player, and a couple of picks. If you're the Miami Heat, Gabe, you've been in 2 of the last 4 NBA finals, or at least Eastern Conference finals. You've got Jimmy Butler, who's aging. Dame has expressed some interest, like waning interest, in leaving Portland finally. Would you give up Tyler Hero, who was your leading regular season scorer last year and is still pretty young, and some draft capital to try to make another push with a guy like Dame?
Yes.
Absolutely, right?
Absolutely. He's just he to me is like one of a undersold superstar kind of, right? Like
100%.
People love him. Like if he gets in a great market, I can see him just taking off there. You know, like
he's been so loyal to Portland, who has put him through so much shit throughout his entire career, right? Like how frequently has this guy showed up big in playoff series that they had no business being in? Just put the team on my back, 6'1", Dame Dollar, and not, he deserves to go. I think I've been hearing a lot from Brian Windhorst and Glenn Perkins and all of these other guys, that the NBA insiders that cover the sport. Dame, though, has to make a stand if he wants to leave. Portland will keep him if he doesn't say anything. But I also think Portland knows, after everything that they've given him, if he comes out and says, hey, I want to win a championship. Dame wanted them to trade the number 3 pick for a veteran, which was why the Wolves were rumored there. Instead, they went out, they got another young guard, and now he's babysitting a bunch of kids trying to get back to the playoffs. I'm pretty sure at 33 years old, he doesn't want to do that.
Yeah, I don't. It's so I'm looking at some news here, and it looks like they're 1 hour ago. This Heat's, oh damn it, it's a speculation one. It was basically a Heat Spurs trade to try to offload some salary for Chris, one of their veteran players. That they say if we see him go, that Dame is coming in.
Yeah,
which was Chris Bird or something like that. What was his name? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
but it's Dame time for a decision. That's what I'm going to label this. He needs to make a choice. He either needs to say, nope, I'm riding it out with Portland, get me a veteran, trade some of these youngsters, or have the youngsters trade me. He needs to come out and make a stand. That's what he needs to do.
Which sounds like that's not the type of dude he is.
And it's not, which is really sad, right? Because I was campaigning for Jimmy Butler deserves a ring. There are guys in the league. I think Ant deserves a ring. Chris Paul deserves a ring. There are guys out there that are veterans that don't have them, that deserve them. All of them take a back seat if Dame could get one, because he is the most deserving guy in the league.
And coming off his best year. Yeah. I didn't know he was still playing at that level. Average 32.2.
Yeah.
Jeez.
So there's that. The big news was Chris Paul got traded again, folks. This is not a rerun of last week's segment. The Suns sent him to the Wizards, and then the Wizards sent him to Golden State for Jordan Poole. I thought this was one lopsided-ass trade that made no sense to me. Jordan Poole is younger, has more upside, is a better scorer, and Chris Paul does not fit in Golden State's system. Everything Golden State does is controlled chaos. Everything Chris Paul does is slow and methodical. He's 36. He's injury prone when it matters. So now their point guards are injury prone Steph Curry and injury prone Chris Paul. You really think they're making it back to the NBA Finals with that? And all of the money that's going to be owed to him? This just didn't make sense to me.
Huh. What about as a presence? Do they need some?
Do you need it when
presence?
Steph Curry and Steve Kerr are on your team?
I don't know. It seems like they had this shit last year with Draymond and whatever.
And Jordan Poole. And Jordan Poole, which is why they removed Jordan Poole, maybe.
So that's why they moved him.
But is that why when Draymond declined, like, you could have kept Jordan Poole because Draymond declined his option and is looking to sign a deal elsewhere?
No, that makes all the sense, because think of what it took for him to actually punch the dude in practice. Like, Draymond's not a total fucking moron, I would think. Like, that dude must have been a shit show behind the scenes. I bet Jordan Poole's a piece of shit. That's why they traded him and took a loss like that.
I mean, dude, 2 years ago, they were talking about him being the second coming of Steph Curry and the guy that was going to carry the franchise into the future.
People used to think I was going to get a lot of pussy.
Never happened.
Never happened.
I know. So sad. And then last, that's going to lead us right into the Draymond thing.
Pussy? Sorry.
No. I was talking about washed up has-beens.
Oh, yeah.
No. Go back.
Oh,
Not
darn
the
it.
Canelo
Well,
thing.
you said
Gabe,
washed up
geez.
has been, so that's what I saw on screen.
Fair enough. So Draymond Green plays a very specific brand of basketball, which is I don't score, I don't pass. The only thing I do is every once in a while make a defensive stop, distribute the ball a little bit, and trash talk like KG in his prime.
Rodman 2.0. I mean,
Rodman
didn't
was
talk trash.
way better than Draymond. Sorry.
Oh, okay. I
don't
actually
know
thought
if
he
there's
was like as an enforcer. I thought he was like a presence in that way.
He is, but it works because of who Golden State is.
That's what I was going to say. There's such a bunch of pussies.
Right. So
By contrast.
they needed him.
Yeah.
Right. He looks so tough in such a soft room.
Yes.
What I
should go
don't
hang out there.
But he's also not. Oh, he's not an elite basketball player anymore. He never really was, but he definitely isn't now. So for him to turn down a $23 million player option to go sign a deal somewhere else, I think to me shows you just how unaware he is of what his market's going to be like. What team is going to pay him that?
Well, he's
when
got
you
plenty of
can't
self-confidence.
produce?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Tons. Like, if you're Draymond Green and the Golden State Warriors, regardless of what happens, are going back to the playoffs. They're going to go back to the playoffs. Or do you, everywhere else, what do you pay him? A mid-level exception so he makes, what, $12 to $15 million max on a team that could make the playoffs? Just doesn't make a lot of sense. I think something going on in Golden State.
Do they need... So what I'm wondering is he such a leader in that locker room and such a presence that it is a bit of a, like let's face it, all the offense, all the, everything comes from guys who are not him.
Yeah.
But maybe he is extremely valuable as a leader and as someone who's setting the tone. And maybe he knows that the poker is, I mean, Christ, who knows if Steph behind closed doors is going, dude, I got your back. That's all that fucking matters is that he can hold that front office to it. And Draymond could be finessing it for another $5 million or whatever.
Maybe.
Who knows?
I
mean, honestly, that's more conceivable to me than him believing he thinks he can get more from another.
If I'm the Warriors, I'm not paying him a dime over 23. If he'd have picked up his option, I'd have been like, all right, we promised it to you. You can have it. But if he's doing this to get to 25, 26, 27 million, I'd laugh in his face and show him the door.
Do you think that they can win the championship next year?
With or without him, the answer is no.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Because Steph is done.
Well, no.
Is that how you think?
Steph is still productive, but
Okay.
you also got rid of your best bench scorer in Jordan Poole. Klay Thompson is getting older. If you have Draymond, you have some defense, but it's not anything fantastic. On offense, he's a liability. Andrew Wiggins is inconsistent at best. Like, it's not a championship roster anymore. The window's closed.
Okay. All right. That's interesting. I'm just trying to wonder if...
Steph can still go for 30 to 50 any given night.
Yeah.
But that's not... It's different in the playoffs, man. It's a 7-game series, and it's physical.
No, that's for sure.
And their 2 point guards that they're banking on now can't usually play a 14-day stretch without pulling something.
I can't go that long without it either, but...
So,
That's
and
more
then
personal
I'll
feeling.
make one comment on the James Harden thing. Everybody's, should he go back to Philly? Joel Embiid has his back, et cetera, et cetera. The only way I'm going back to James Harden, or if I'm the 76ers, is if he's taking another pay cut. They are depth. If they can get depth, they can be a contender in the East. But it showed that they didn't have it, and that Harden slows the entire offense down when he's on the floor. With his age, the miles that are on him, like, yeah.
Or as Brian Windhorst on ESPN just said, quote, there simply isn't a market for James Harden.
There isn't. What team is going to pick up a ball-dominant, aging shooting guard other than maybe Houston, who's rumored to want him back? And why on God's green earth Houston would want him back when they have like the youngest, most athletic roster in the league right now is beyond me.
Is he a good leader? Like my
No.
understanding, yeah, that's what I thought. Okay.
If he was a good leader, it would have worked in Brooklyn. If he was a good leader, it would have worked in Houston. If he was a good leader, it would have worked in OKC. He's not a good leader.
He has had some opportunities to lead, now that you say it. Yes. He's not a good leader.
Not a good leader. Sorry. Now, from washed up has-beens in the NBA to the greatest boxer of all time, let's talk about Canelo Alvarez and the fight he has coming up. First of all, yeah.
Deny.
Yeah. All right, so Jermell Charlo, what do you know about him? And do you think he stands a chance, Gabe? Because that's the next opponent in September for Canelo.
I would say that no matter how he feels, he's probably going to lose because he's a cherry, and he just got picked.
Ooh, really?
Yeah, absolutely, man. Canelo had the fights. If he wanted to go for legacy stuff, if he wanted to go for all-time great, this reeks of, yes, a dude with a resume, a dude who is absolutely good. But I think that this is a clear-cut case of he sees something that he can get.
I mean, the guy who, as Jermell has stepped up in competition, the knockout power has definitely gone away. Over his last 5 fights, only one of them has come by stoppage. The rest of them have been by split 12-round decisions. Yeah. He's got titles.
And he's coming off big, inactivity, I read, too, at that point.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm trying to pull some up now to see. But
yeah, against the last fight that he had was June 19th of 2021. And before that, he's had 2 big layoffs now.
Yeah, and even, I should have even guessed this, but that it would be a power thing. Because boxers, when they're this late in their career, they're not usually going in looking for the dudes who are going to test their chin.
Yeah.
You know? they can... There's different types of punches to take, right? There's rock your fucking shit off, and then there's guys I get hit in the face. I'm a fighter. You know, there's a difference. So, yeah, and that's, I don't know. He had Bivol. He had, who's the other guy with the B? Benavidez, possible?
Yep.
I mean, that would be.
So here's the 3 rumored fights, because part of this, I think, this little cherry pick here, this little break in action, is because he also switched affiliations. He's not a DAZN fighter. He went to PBC.
I don't think that affects him, though.
I think it affects the way that you're able to get some matchups done.
Yeah. No,
right?
That's true. It does affect that.
So now, as that happened, here were the 3 rumored fights that I heard if he dispatches of this cherry that you say has just been picked.
Mm-hmm.
Errol Spence, Benavidez, and Bivol. If those are his final 3 fights, or if he gets 1, maybe even 2 of those done, he can walk into the sunset.
Oh, I'd be impressed if he took either of those names.
Right?
Benavidez or Spence? I mean, I'd be super impressed. But he won't.
And do you see that Bivol said that he'd come down to 168 for the rematch now? So this is what I was talking about, with the Ryan Garcia thing. Ryan Garcia lost like Canelo lost. But Canelo now is going out there and racking up noteworthy wins while Bivol sits on the sideline and just barks for a while.
Bivol is just certain that he's going to beat him, too. I'll go anywhere. Yep. Whatever. Please let me fight this guy.
This is what you got to do. You got to make him chase you. You got to make him come down and wait. Now he's maybe susceptible to some more of Canelo's power. You see what I'm saying? He's playing the game the right way.
No, I mean, he is. Except when you look, that's kind of assuming that he's got a 3-fight plan.
His plan is to fight 3 times every year. He's fight twice.
Canelo still?
Yes.
He's still going to keep up that rate, huh?
That's what he claims.
Okay.
That's what Eddie claims.
God, it's I don't, I hate the man, so I don't read him a lot.
Right.
But I swear I just saw something recently where they're talking about an exit plan for him.
Well, but that's what I'm talking about. 2024 might be the exit plan.
Yeah.
But if you're doing that as a fighter...
No, then it's a good move.
Then it's a good move, right? You take this fight, you get Bivol to come down. Even if you beat Bivol, you take Benavidez right at the cusp of him entering his prime. These are well-timed fights for him.
Oh, this is a masterful choice.
Yeah.
I mean, assuming that... this is how the fight game works, man. You don't pick an elite champion type guy unless you really believe you can beat him for some reason.
Or unless you're Ryan Garcia and you're just dead wrong.
Yeah, right.
Oh, wow.
Which is just still fucking confusing to me. He has fucked me up.
Hasn't it?
Truly,
It's messed me up so bad to see what they've done to him.
And I don't know what the fuck his skill set is anymore. I don't know what he's capable of. Like, it's...
His next fight's going to be so interesting.
Yeah, well, is it Raleigh that he's fighting?
Is it?
I think it's Raleigh, which I loved, actually, as a matchup. Let me see if that's actually signed. Garcia, let's see. News. Let's see. 1 month ago said it's going to happen. Blah blah blah. But yeah, nothing signed yet. Garcia does. And then do you see Oscar and Ryan are suing each other?
Yeah, I did see that.
God, like honestly, Oscar looks like a fucking shit show, just like what Dana says.
Here's the thing. Based on Oscar's reputation, he's going to lose both those.
Yes. I mean, he seems like a guy who is truly like
lost his fucking mind.
Yes, like fried in his head. Like he does not see what the rest of the world sees.
He is a guy that took one too many punches.
Yeah. It's
100%.
Weird because I've always liked him. Like it's not like I've never liked him like a fan necessarily, but
if he would have exited boxing and gone off into the sunset, everybody would have thought very fondly of him. But he decided to get into the business side of things, and now everybody's going, "What the fuck are you doing?"
Yeah, he's like one of those dudes you pay to come to your restaurant opening, right? Like, and just be the champ and shake your fists and take pictures, and people fucking love you.
Go on Ellen every once in a while, do an interview.
Yeah.
Like, there's no reason for him to be on the business side of boxing. He's very evidently not good at it.
I feel bad for Jesus. How can I blank on this? My favorite fighter, Hopkins.
Oh, yeah.
One of my truly all-time faves, but... Like, I feel like he jumped in with Oscar in his camp.
Yeah.
And, you know, probably has the right intentions and all that, but he's got to be just going like, how is this dude this crazy?
Right. What did I get myself into kind of thing?
We just met. We said that he'd do this.
Yeah. 100%. Now, I have one final question for you on the Canelo thing, right? So, let's say he dispatches of Jamel, however you want to say his name.
Yep.
And he picks up a win against any of the three fighters that I just listed. We'll say he ends his career on a loss. Most boxers do. Like a true loss.
So let's say, why don't you just map it for me? Map me the exact thing, because I know you're going to ask me some insulting thing if he's in the top 10 or something.
Yeah.
Okay.
If he knocks out, stops this guy in this next fight.
Okay.
And then let's say he takes on Bivol at 168, gets his revenge, they go 1-1. And ends his career with a split decision loss against a guy like Benavidez, who's going to be firmly in his prime.
Yeah.
He's going to have over 55 wins at that point as a fighter, approaching 60, which, I mean, you could push for that if you cherry-picked a few others. Where do you put him all time, Gabe?
I do put him in the top 30.
Oh, that's so low.
Not when you look at how long boxing is, man. That's only like 4 guys at each major division or something like that. You know, like it's not that many. And I think that's super elite. I think that's insanely elite.
Oh, sorry. He has 59 wins already. So he'll be over the 60-win mark with his next victory. That change your mind at all?
No. I mean, because I thought he was around 60. Like
he'll also
have a lot.
He'll also have 40 knockouts if he stops this guy by TKO or KO.
Okay, I think that if he beats Bivol at 168, like that would absolutely like cement him in my like where I would have to begrudgingly say he is a true like first ballot Hall of Fame elite, which I mean really he is. But I mean I'm saying I would put him in a real upper echelon in my mind.
Fair enough.
He would be there for sure.
Fair enough.
If he beats Benavidez, like if he actually were to go that route that you just said, beat
or
Charlo,
Spence,
right? Any like let's say he sweeps him, walks all 3, then I put him in the fucking top 10 for sure.
And what's crazy is it's feasible.
Hey, I don't
power
rule it
ruins
out.
People.
Yes, I can't. It's so hard to have like the Floyd loss where he was just so outclassed.
The rub, though, I'll tell you what, I've said this, I will say it.
No, and I know that was a big learning thing for him. And all
if they rerun, there's a reason Floyd didn't want that rematch. If they run that fight back even a year later, Canelo takes that fight.
Oh, I don't doubt that at all. I mean, that's Floyd is. I actually don't necessarily like subscribe to the whole like Floyd in the top 5 kind of thing.
I don't either.
I mean, I think he is like absolutely top 20, and he's absolutely probably top 10, or probably. He was fucking magical when he was younger, for sure.
Sure.
And he is a genius for fighting.
Yeah.
He is a genius. But I don't know. It's like, here's my thing with Canelo. I don't know. He's so well-rounded. There's certain guys where like they almost go backwards for being so well-rounded. I don't. You want to just be able to go like, oh, Mike Tyson was so ferocious and powerful that it was like game over. You didn't care that his defense wasn't necessarily great, or he just seemed like a murderer.
Yeah.
And Canelo is that in certain way. I don't know. He doesn't have that aura thing to me.
See, I think, honestly, Gabe, that's just how you look at him. Because I see him step into the ring and I go, oh, that's magic. The way that he evades punches and his ability to hit powerfully with precision is next level.
He's absolutely great. I'm not trying to say he's not. I do. Yes, I hate him. Yes, I don't like redheaded people as much. But it's especially people with a little Mighty Mouse voice. And I don't know.
Dude, he's a 5'8" light heavyweight. He's fought at super light heavyweight.
You know what, man? I happen to know of a man named James Toney, so I'm not fucking impressed. Yeah. James Toney was fucking better. But anyway, I don't know, man. I wish I could fucking like what's his career-defining fight for you?
Let me go back. I actually have his
Triple G.
Those fights were big. I like that. Let me go back. I was just looking at some of these. I
was so wrong on those. I'm so disappointed. I mean, I'm not wrong. Triple G won.
Yeah.
I think he won 2 of the fights, to be honest.
There was actually one. There was one recently where I was like, okay, I'm trying to grab the guy's name real quick.
I mean, Floyd is actually his career-defining fight,
right?
Because
it's a loss.
Made him a great, but it's what truly made him who he is.
He took on Shane Mosley. I liked that fight.
Oh, Shane Mosley, man, was such a fucking badass. Like, that dude fought. He might be one of the most underrated middleweights of all time.
So he beat Shane Mosley. And then 2 fights later, lost to Floyd.
Beat Shane Mosley, 2 fights later, lost to Floyd. Okay.
All right, and then you go.
What are the other pop off the page names?
Miguel Cotto was a knockout artist for a while.
He was
Julio
great.
Cesar Chavez.
Hold on, he fought Julio?
Yeah.
No, that's Junior, right?
Oh yeah. Junior. Sorry,
okay.
You're right. The Golovkin fights. Looking for the one. Callum Smith. That's the one recently that jumps off the page to me.
Didn't he beat the shit out of him? Like, wasn't that not really? I guess what I'm trying to go
it was the artwork of that fight. If you go back and watch that fight, Canelo punches him in the shoulder.
Yeah, I do remember that.
30 times and gets him
to drop
his guard before he lands a devastating hook. And that guy was twice Canelo's size and was unbeaten and was the unanimous belt holder in that division. Like, that fight for me, I was like, okay, we're talking a different beast, because he started as a guy that fought at 145, 150. Now he's fighting 165, 168, 170 pound fighters. That's a big jump in size. It's a big jump in power. It's a big jump in reach. Like, Canelo's got a 70-inch reach, but Callum Smith has 29 wins. 21 of them by knockout, and his only loss is to Canelo. He's got an 8-inch reach advantage, and he's a half a foot taller than him.
You think Canelo? I don't want to go down this road. I don't know. Like, do you think that he's actually like beloved in fighting?
Yeah,
like in the way that
I think he rubs some fighters the wrong way because of how good he is, but I think everybody respects how good he is.
I think that's true. I don't think there's anyone going, Canelo's not great. He is great. I don't know. There is just something about him to me that is so he's like charisma free.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Like, it's just, he doesn't have that aura that makes me project him as one of these the super elites, the top 10s all
Right.
time.
Well, he's not as boisterous as a lot of those guys. But I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, show up, do your work. He's this good, and it's a lunch pail job.
Yeah, and I mean, there are guys like that, and I like those guys too.
Here's what I'll say: his career,
Bernard Hopkins was that.
His career will age well. Like when he's done and retired, and like we're telling our kids about some of the greatest fighters, and they're looking up records and stats and who they fought and whatever. His career will age well. Some boxers don't.
See, I don't. That's what I feel like he is missing. Is like I feel like he doesn't have. Okay, he has Triple G for sure. I mean, this guy's great. I'm not at all fucking saying that shit anymore, right? Like he's great, but I feel like he's missing those things that we had with the Four Kings and shit like that, like these wars with his peers.
He fought in the deadest era of boxing,
and he fought Triple G so late when they were trying to do it. 8 years before that.
Yeah,
it's just God.
He fought in the deadest era, and you can't detract him for that. Boxing got really ugly after Floyd.
Yeah, I don't know.
The way people handled boxing, the way people handled and approached
promotional ways for sure.
Correct. The business side got really messy, but he showed up every year, 3-4 times a year, knocked somebody out, gained a belt, and went home.
Yeah. I'm just here looking at 58, 2-2.
Yep.
What are his two?
One against Golovkin.
One against Golovkin. What's the other one, I wonder?
I have it. Hang on. Golovkin.
So he's actually never been stopped.
No. Jorge Juarez, when he was back in 2006.
Okay. I see that. Okay. So I'm coming up his record here, and it's like, man, I got to be up to... So Cotto's the first big name I'm seeing. So what is that, like halfway through? Oh, more than that. Yeah, I don't know, man. I mean, I think he's great. I don't think that his resume is great. Don't get me wrong. But I'm just saying, to put with those... Sergey Kovalev was I think that was more impressive than the Callum Smith.
Well, those fights are back-to-back. Not only are they back-to-back, but he fights... Kovalev, November 2nd, 2019, and then December of 2020 turns around and fights Callum Smith. I mean, yeah, it's a 1-year break, but that's what you do with a fight of that magnitude, right? Take some time, but...
You know what I think really made him look... Oh, Amir Khan. He beat Amir Khan, too, even though he's just... Amir Khan is not one of those champions who you just... I don't know.
Right.
You could tell he was pillow fighting speed.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say, if there's a fight to me that defines Canelo's ferocity, or, if I really wanted to fucking wash his balls here, what I would say is his fight versus Billy Joe Saunders.
Where he shatters his eye socket?
That was so fucking vicious. And Billy Joe, who I wasn't super familiar with, I had absolutely seen him fight.
He's a good fighter.
Very fast, very sharp. And to see him, figure him out, because that was such a mental, the way he broke him down and then struck and did so fucking violently, man.
The minute he decided to end the fight, it was over.
Yeah. No, he was downloading him, and to the eye, Billy Joe is so fast that you go, how can he be processing all of this? And it's like he was.
Yeah.
So, and then also he fought
Caleb Plant,
Shane Mosley. Shane Mosley fought everybody.
Yeah, he did.
Wow. Cotto, yeah, that's all I'm...
So, yep, I'd put him in... right now, I've got him in the top 15. He gets 2 more wins, one here against Charlo. He grabs Benavidez, Spence, or gets his revenge against Bivol, which I think is the big spot on his record. It was really cool that his only loss was against Floyd Mayweather, but if he gets that back and levels the playing field, he's top 10 fighter. I'm sorry.
Is he the greatest Mexican champion of all time?
Oof. That's a conversation for another time. There's so many great Mexican fighters. So many. They all go out there like warriors and die on their swords, which I love. Speaking about dying on our swords, a little bit of news for the show. Some things have happened. Obviously, the economy is tightening a little bit. Everybody's making some adjustments, so this show is actually going to be doing the same. This is actually going to be me and Gabe's last show together for the foreseeable future as we continue to make some adjustments here. I'm sad that this has to happen. I've enjoyed every single minute, every single second of bringing you guys sports news and my opinions over the last 2 years. I've enjoyed sitting in the studio with Gabe, talking before the show, talking strategy after the show, sitting here with Mike, differing of opinions, taking in your guys' phone calls. You know, I want to give some thank yous real quick. Big shout out to guys like Tim Jackson, Jordan, Grant Backman, Josh, Kelly, Jerry, and everyone who are regular supporters of the show, callers, commenters, likers, sharers on all of our different platforms. Thank you to NBC Multicast, Gabe, and MCN6 for giving us a home to produce, you know, what I have considered to be some of the best visual sports content over the last 2 years. I think you can stack any of our episodes up against things that you see on ESPN or SportsCenter, and we run circles around them here, and we run it with a bare bones crew. Massive thank you to the individuals from inside locker rooms like Arif Hassan, Nash Walker, Chris Long, E. White, Danielle King, Rick Sosa, that have brought a level of knowledge to this show, or a level of credence and I guess background and knowledge to the show that me and Mike never really got the chance to get to. Thank you to the Saints organization for the opportunity to let us cover them last season. Wish we could have done a little bit more with it, but it was really cool to have that experience. It's not an experience that a lot of people get to have. Massive thank you to Melissa Walsh, who is our business coach, who has kind of guided us along this over the last 2 years, making sure we weren't misstepping and that we were be able to do this every single Thursday and kind of beat the drum for y'all. And then Gabe, dude, I owe you the biggest thank you in the world. This was kind of like a dream, or just kind of like a project of mine that I've wanted to do for a very long time. And the one thing that I knew I was going to need was a fucking kick-ass producer. I vetted 10 or 15 different studios, 10 or 15 different producers across the Twin Cities. And the minute I landed here with Gabe, I knew that we had something that was going to kick ass. So I thank you for showing up every Thursday, bringing stats, bringing energy, working with us on, hey, maybe this isn't working, expanding, your knowledge on things that I wanted to try that you hadn't done before, and running it live a lot of times because we didn't have time to pilot anything. So you have been an absolute trooper, and I owe you the biggest thanks in the world. So thank you very much, bro.
Well, yeah. No, I want to say thank you too, and I'm sorry if we let you down at all, but I think it's just been great. I think we've done great content. I've loved it. It is really sad to me, and hopefully it'll come back together at some point. So.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we have to take a step back so we can evaluate how we can move forward, and that's all I'm doing right now. This is, like I said, this is a dream that I'm still going to pursue in one way or the other. You will find me somewhere doing sports at some point in the future. I just can't continue, and we can't continue with the way that things are currently going to do it the way that we're doing it. And it's hard to admit. That's the hard thing to say, but it is the truth. It's humbling, but it's the wise thing to do because, I don't want to wind up with this being a thing that I don't come back to as far as covering sports and bringing you guys content and all of the things like that. So for the last time for the foreseeable future, take care, stay safe, have fun.
And then I'll do the... Thank you, Nick.